So now that we've kind of looked at how the table names things and how you can bring that into all of your functions, I want to show you a couple of new functions that will allow you to really identify a lot of things in this data. So in this table of our Sylvia student survey, we have a lot of information. I mean, you have 756 people in here, right? So what if you wanted to know, like, how many are 12th graders? How many seniors have I had in class before? Right? You could filter out all of those people, but then how would you only know how many there are? I mean, these numbers over here on the left don't tell you how many there are because they're actually removing any of the rows that contain the other people. So you could have those, you could then go down to the bottom here and you could figure it out using like maybe a count. So maybe we count how many there are. So there's 47. However, when I bring everyone back, so if I change this down at the bottom, if I go to the bottom in the total row and I change this to be a count, it'll tell me what's currently showing. But if I go back to the filter right here up at the top for class and I bring everyone back with select all and click OK, you'll see it'll readjust to say 755. So you could see it when you filter people out, but what if you wanted to know like all the time how many seniors there were? Okay, so what you can do is you can use functions to count things, to average things, and to add things if they meet a specific criteria. So we're going to go ahead and go and find the number of 12th graders. Okay, and actually I'm going to I'll go ahead and put this at the beginning so I know what this is, to say number of 12th graders. Okay, so the count function we just saw will count all the cells that are available. So if it has a number and it exists, you're going to have that available. However, now we want to count with a specific criteria and we want to count if they are 12th graders. So in our formulas tab, you've got these logical tests that you can kind of pick where if something is true, then we get to do it. So our criteria, our thing that we're asking all of the data to have is that they are in fact a 12th grader. So if they are a 12th grader, count them, right? Well, the if function and the ifs options here won't do that. However, what we do have to count is a count function, and then we have an if function. So they actually have a count if function. So count them if they meet this criteria. So I'm going to go into my little dialog box here for inserting a function, or I can do that up here. And I'm going to look for a count if. So when I look for count if, you can see that there's a count ifs, there's a count blank, a count. If I put no spaces between count and if and hit go, you'll actually see that there's not just a count ifs, there's a count if. Now, the difference between a count if and a count ifs is that there's one criteria versus multiple. So like, for instance, in a count if, I'm counting if they're a 12th grader. That's one criteria. They've got to be a 12th grader, I'll count them. If I wanted to count male 12th graders, that would be two criteria. They have to be male and they have to be a 12th grader. So that would be a count ifs function, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a count if in cell M3 and click OK. The two arguments that it has is a range and a criteria. So the range is the range of cells you want to count from non-blank cells. So what would you like to count? Now, the biggest thing about this is that when you're using a count if, you're allowed to use values that have numbers or values that have words, but a count function, a regular count function, usually only counts numbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and span over to here where the class is, and I'm going to grab the class column, the whole column. I'm going to click on C here. Now, I could actually click here and drag all the way through class, and you can see that once I get down to the bottom with 757 here, it will try and grab the data for the class, blah, 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 blah. Or if I just add more to column C and I click on the C up here and it goes C:C, that means it's going to do all of column C and I'm good to go. And the criteria is that they have to be in grade 12. So I'm going to check for all of C and look for grade 12, and you can see it's going to find that same number we found before of 47. So click OK, and you've got 47 over here. So now, even though everybody's showing, I've only got the 12th graders. All right, so now let's count the number of males. So I want you to pause the video here and count the number of males. So same type of function, right? I can do a count if function. I can open up my dialog box by clicking this FX button. I can insert the function. 6 different ways you can get in here. Bring in a COUNTIF. Oh, I double did it. See, I did a COUNTIF plus a COUNTIF. That's not going to work. So I'm going to hit cancel. And I'm just going to do it the old-fashioned way of an FX button. The most recent function I use is going to show up there. Click OK. And I'm going to go this time, instead of going to column C, I'm going to go to column A, where it's got all the genders. And my criteria is that is M. Okay. Now you'll see it's 0. However, when you click up in range, it's going to put quotation marks around the M, because now it's not a number, it's a letter or a string of text. And the quotation marks let Excel know it's a string of text. And once it has those quotation marks around it, it actually counts them. So it has to have those for strings of text. So now I have 463 males. Hitting OK. It's going to go ahead and show me the number of males. Okay, so now I want to know the number of male 12th graders. So this time, instead of using a COUNTIF, you're going to use a COUNTIFs. So pause the video here and see if you can make that happen. So I'm going to go to the FX button. I'm going to do a COUNTIFs function, search for that, and select it. Click OK. And when I do a COUNTIFs, you can see I have a criteria range of 1 and then the criteria 1. So my first criteria is column A, range, that they are a male. Then the second I click on criteria 1, you'll see criteria 2 pops up. And the second range is that I'm going to check their class for 12. And I could keep going. I could have multiple criterias, keep going, and I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And you'll see that we have 36 male 12th graders. So you've got a COUNTIF and a COUNTIFs function. And we also learned how to use a count function as well.